The carriage wheels creaked against the cobblestone path as Elena pressed her face against the cold window, watching her childhood home disappear into the misty morning. Her hands trembled in her lap, clutching the simple linen handkerchief her mother had pressed into her palm just moments before. This wasn't supposed to be her fate. She was the spare daughter, the one who tended the gardens and read books by candlelight while her beautiful older sister Marianne prepared for a magnificent destiny. Marianne was supposed to marry Lord Ashford, the wealthy duke whose lands stretched across 3 counties. She had been groomed for this alliance since birth, with her golden hair, practiced smiles, and perfect curtsies. But 3 days ago, Marianne had fled in the night with the blacksmith's son, leaving behind nothing but a tearful letter and the complete devastation of their family's honor. Elena's father had aged 10 years in those 3 days. The contract was signed, the dowry promised, and Lord Ashford expected a bride. When the patriarch of the family suggested sending Elena instead, there had been a terrible silence at the breakfast table. Elena remembered how her mother had looked at her with such profound sadness, as though already mourning the life her younger daughter would never have. Nobody had asked Elena what she wanted. At 22, she was considered nearly too old for marriage anyway, too bookish, too plain. She had resigned herself to becoming the maiden aunt who helped raise her siblings' children. Now she was being sent like a package to a man she had never met, to replace the sister he actually wanted. The journey took 2 days. Elena tried to read, but the words swam before her eyes. She tried to sleep, but anxiety kept her rigidly awake. By the time the carriage rolled through the iron gates of Ashford Manor, she felt hollowed out, a shell of herself. The estate was magnificent and terrifying. Stone columns rose like giants, and the windows seemed to watch her with dark, knowing eyes. Servants appeared to collect her meager trunk, their faces carefully neutral. Elena wondered if they knew she was the replacement, the consolation prize. Lord Ashford met her in the drawing room. He was younger than she expected, perhaps 35, with dark hair touched with silver at the temples and eyes that held a bone-deep weariness. He bowed stiffly, formally. She curtsied, her legs shaking. "Miss Elena," he said, his voice flat. "I trust your journey was comfortable." "Yes, my lord," she whispered. "I will be direct," he continued, not meeting her eyes. "This arrangement is not what either of us planned. However, the contract stands, and I require a wife. We will marry in 3 days as scheduled. I expect you to manage the household and behave appropriately. In return, you will want for nothing material. Do you understand?" Elena nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. This was her future, a business arrangement with a man who couldn't even look at her because she reminded him he'd been rejected by her sister. "My housekeeper, Mrs. Davies, will show you to your rooms," he said, already turning away. "We dine at 8. But before Elena could respond, a small voice rang out from the doorway. "Papa! Papa, you didn't tell me we had a visitor." A little girl burst into the room, all wild dark curls and bright eyes, perhaps 7 years old. She wore a grass-stained dress and had what appeared to be mud on her cheek. Behind her, a flustered governess appeared, breathless and apologetic. "Lady Catherine, you mustn't run through the house," the governess pleaded. Lord Ashford's expression transformed. The coldness melted into something infinitely tender as he caught the child in his arms. "Catherine, my darling, you're supposed to be at your lessons." "But Miss Winters said we had a guest, and I wanted to see." Catherine turned her bright gaze to Elena, and for a moment, Elena felt truly seen for the first time since arriving. "Are you the new mama?" The room fell silent. The governess turned pale. Lord Ashford stiffened. Elena felt her heart crack. "Catherine, that's not appropriate," Lord Ashford began, but the little girl wiggled free and approached Elena with the fearless curiosity of childhood. "You look nice," Catherine declared, studying Elena's face with intense concentration. "You have kind eyes. Not like the portrait Papa showed me. That lady looked mean." Elena couldn't help herself. A small, genuine laugh escaped her lips. "Did she? Very mean. Like she smelled something bad all the time." Catherine wrinkled her nose in demonstration, and Elena laughed again, a real laugh this time. Lord Ashford cleared his throat. "Catherine,
Apologize at once.
But Catherine ignored him, reaching out to touch the simple embroidery on Elena's sleeve. Did you make this? It's pretty.
I like violets.
I did make it, Elena said softly, kneeling down to the child's level. Violets are my favorite flower. They're small but strong, and they bloom even when it's still cold.
Caterina's face lit up like the sun.
Can you show me how? Miss Winters tries to teach me embroidery, but I'm terrible at it.
I always poke my fingers.
Catherine, Lord Ashford's voice held a warning, but something had shifted in Elena. This child, with her muddy dress and honest eyes, had spoken to her like a person, not a disappointment. I would love to teach you, Elena said gently.
If your father permits it.
For the first time, Lord Ashford truly looked at her. Their eyes met, and Elena saw something flicker in his gaze, surprise perhaps, or curiosity. Then he nodded curtly and left the room, taking the warmth with him. The next 3 days passed in a strange daze. Elena barely saw Lord Ashford, except at formal dinners where they ate in near silence. But Catherine appeared at every opportunity, full of questions and stories, leading Elena through the gardens, showing her the secret places of the estate. The child was starved for attention, for mothering, and Elena found herself falling helplessly in love with this wild, honest little soul. On the afternoon before the wedding, Catherine found Elena in the library, staring at a book without reading it.
Are you scared?
Catherine asked, climbing onto the sofa beside her. Elena considered lying, then decided this child deserved truth. A little. Your father doesn't really want to marry me. He wanted someone else. Catherine nodded sagely. My first mama died when I was born. Papa said he'd never marry again. He's very sad a lot.
Elena's heart twisted. I'm sorry, sweetheart.
But then he said he had to marry for me, so I could have a proper mama. He showed me a painting of a lady with yellow hair. She was very beautiful. Catherine paused, then took Elena's hand. But I prayed to God for a mama who would love me, not just be beautiful. And then you came instead.
Tears stung Elena's eyes. Oh, Catherine.
God sent you, Catherine said with absolute certainty. I know he did. Because you like violets and laugh at my jokes and you don't get angry when I have mud on my dress. The other lady would have hated me. But you won't. Elena pulled the child into her arms, this unexpected gift, and let herself cry.
No, darling. I could never at you.
The wedding was a small, formal affair. Elena wore a borrowed dress that didn't quite fit. Lord Ashford repeated his vows in a hollow voice. But when they turned from the altar, Catherine was there in the front pew, beaming like the ceremony had been a fairy tale, and somehow that made it bearable. That evening, Elena sat in her new rooms, technically married but utterly alone.
A soft knock came at the door.
She opened it to find Catherine in her nightgown, holding a small bouquet of violets. I picked these for you, Catherine whispered.
Because you're my mama now. God sent you after all.
Elena took the flowers, their small faces perfect and brave, and pulled her daughter close. Behind Catherine, in the hallway, she glimpsed Lord Ashford standing in the shadows, watching. For a moment, their eyes met. His expression was unreadable, but something in it had softened, shifted. This wasn't the life Elena had imagined. But holding this child who had chosen to love her, who believed she was an answer to prayer rather than a poor substitute, Elena felt something she hadn't expected. Hope. Perhaps being sent instead of her sister wasn't a punishment after all. Perhaps there was a reason she was here, in this cold house with this sad man and this bright, loving child who needed her. Perhaps Catherine was right, and God had sent her after all.